All right, we're in part 6 here, home stretch-ish of our Neon Dynasty set review. We're looking at the red cards, commons, uncommons, rares, and then sorting by mana value within each of those. First up is Aki Warpaint, single red for an aura, enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +2/+1.
So, this is kind of a question mark card, just by nature of existing. How aggressive can you get in this format? How low to the ground can you go, essentially? There's the whole, this is modified card. The cheap, very cheap modifier is the idea. And looking at the red commons and the red uncommons, I think there might be like a super low to the ground red aggro deck with like good 1-drops, there's a few good 1-drops, and just like this style of card, and just like really 15 lands, that kind of stuff going on. Potentially. I don't want to, I'm not going to call anything now, but there are the cards that point to that. If that's a thing, then this card could get the cut there. Then again, +2/+1, no stat boost. It's not the best buff in the world. No menace, no anything like that, right? So you really want to be putting this on a flyer, even if you're like super, super aggressive or a menace creature or something. If you're doing that, it might be okay. But the thing that maybe puts me off this card is we're going to get to in a second, like some red equipment that I think is probably just filled the role of this card better, essentially. So
yeah, that's what I was, we saw this card last week on the podcast where I was like, well, this we haven't seen an effect like this for 1 mana. I kind of want to like this. We've got the modified thing mattering, but having looked at the set so far, I just feel like the reconfigure stuff and the equipment just does it better.
Yeah,
so I'm sort of out on this card. Hot takey wanted this card to be good, but I think it's probably not.
Yeah, I know the chat was ready for Alex Nathan to be like, oh, I think this is great, but I think we're also, we're pretty low on this. Yeah, I'm gonna start on like a D-.
Yeah, that seems good to me.
All right, we've got Experimental Synthesizer, weird card, single red mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield or leaves, exile the top card of your library, and until end of turn, you can play that card. And it's an activated ability, Tuna red, sack it, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token of vigilance, activate only as a sorcery. What a weird card for a common, too.
That is weird. So, maybe you play this, you exile the top card of your library. If it's super late game, you have to cast it, slot it along the curve, and you high roll, flip a land, get to play that.
Well, yeah, I think it's similar to Reckless Impulse, where you want this in a low curve deck so you can cast on turn 4 or turn 3 or whatever, and not just completely brick or whatever. Although this is worse than that because you have to cast it right away, right?
Exactly.
You have to be careful about that. And then you somewhere down the line, you crack it and hope to play another card. Very, very strange. I'm having a bit of trouble visualizing exactly how this is going to slot into a curve or a game plan.
This is terrible, right? Do we need to talk about this that much?
I mean, it's so weird that it makes me think that it might be good. I don't know. Okay, so let's just quickly think about this, right? Yeah. So let's just say you play on turn 4 in a low curve deck. You hit a 3-drop or below or a land. That's fine. The next turn you untap. You're on turn 5. You crack it. Maybe you hit a land. Maybe you hit a shoot spell. Then you've paid 4 mana for a card, a cantripping 2/2 essentially, and sometimes a 2/2 that draws you 2 cards. That's not bad, right? You also could maybe sacrifice the egg to not have to pay the sacrifice cost. That's actually a place I'm probably more interested in, right?
Yes.
So you just play it, sacrifice this thing, and then it just gets its extra draw effect. You get whatever.
So compare this to then the 2 mana artifact at common.
Right.
That enters the battlefield, finds a land, and then you can sack it to put a counter on something.
I think that's a lot worse. Yeah.
You think that's a lot worse than this?
Yes.
I'm not convinced. Alex, I don't think you are ever putting this in a deck.
I think you will. No. I think you're going to.
No, I don't think. I'm saying one can. You, I don't think, are putting this in it. This is really? So much worse than Reckless Impulse.
Oh, no. I think you're going to play this card. I think you're going to be happy with this card.
Okay. What's your grade?
I'm going to give it a C+. There we go. There's a hot take, chat.
You think this is this is just there have to be repercussions for this for you. You have to be
you can't keep getting away with this.
For just naming this garbage card a C+, and no one is going to come after you.
Okay, no, realistically, I do think it is a synergy C+ when you can sacrifice it in another way. That's the real take.
But it's okay.
Yeah, if you can sacrifice it for cheap or something that's not 3 mana, 1, 2, free. I think it has a lot of applications.
All right. feel like I just all right.
It becomes a 1-mana draw 2 at that point, right? So.
Yes, it's basically Ancestral Recall.
It's basically Ancestral, exactly. All right, let's go.
Kindle Fury, single red for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn.
Have been increasingly less impressed with this card as sets and years have gone on. I remember this card was like decent, and I don't know. The 1-mana tricks are good, but I've always felt this always underperforms a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it looks fine because it's it's 1 mana. It's gonna win most combats.
Yep.
But whatever.
Looks okay.
Yeah.
Some formats lend themselves more to tricks than others. We'll see where this one lands, but this is not a super impressive trick. I'm gonna give it a C-.
Yeah. With spells not really mattering, I think it gets a knock for sure.
Simian Sling. I love this card.
Yeah, this card's
Single
great.
red mana for a Equipment Monkey artifact creature. It's a 1/1. The equipped creature gets +1/+1, and whenever Simian Sling or the equipped creature becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to defending player. Reconfigure, 2 mana.
This card's great.
This card's great. Yeah, I really, really like this card. So it's got Tormentor Helm from Kaldheim vibes, and I think it's better than the 1 mana on Helm was pretty nice, but I think
Helm wasn't a creature.
Helm wasn't a creature to get in those early beats. This is true. The nice thing about this is it does do the Helm thing where you can pile a bunch of these onto one creature and your opponent has a really tough time blocking. This is just going to push a lot of damage in multiple ways. I think this is like a B-.
Yeah, I really like this card.
Yep.
Next up, we have Voltage Surge. This is a single red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice an artifact. Voltage Surge deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell's additional cost was paid, it deals 4 instead.
It's great. Shock with some upside. The problem with Shock is when you can't kill the big things, and if you really need to, you can kill the big things. Bigger things, I should say. Maybe not the giant things, but bigger things,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. I think
pair this with your little egg sword or whatever.
Exactly. Yes, Ethan, you're seeing the light already.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. No, I love that card. I think this card seems good to me, and stuff seems small.
Yes, I agree. Stuff does seem fairly small, so I'm into this. I go to B.
B.
Yeah.
For removal?
Well,
in 2022?
Super cheap removal. I'm into. I'm just not into the clunky stuff.
All right, that's fair. What's next?
We got Aki Amber Keeper. This is 1 red for 2 enchantment creature. Whenever a non-token modified creature you control dies, you create a 1/1 colorless spirit token.
I guess we're getting into red green where modified is, I guess, more prevalent.
Yeah.
So I haven't quite gotten the sense of like how supported this is, but I'm excited about this card. Seems good.
Yep. I think that. So I think where modified will succeed or fail potentially is how much manaless modified you can get. How many creatures naturally come with counters? How many creatures effortlessly can pick up a counter from something? And if somewhere along the curve you're just getting a counter from a creature or your spring or whatever it is, that red green uncommon, this type of card is going to be good. I think if you have to put the mana into it, have to work a bit, this card's not going to be so good. We'll really see. We'll see as we've played the format and as we get into these cards, kind of paint a better picture. But I don't know. I think this is a solid C. I'd be ready to put this in the deck if I had a lot of cheap or free ways to put counters on stuff.
I'm hopeful. I'm gonna go C+.
Yes, put a monkey on it. Send it in. That's
right. Aki Ronin is next. 1 red for a 1/3 Goblin Samurai. When a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting. This also kind of points to the whole theory I have of this deck being a little bit slower, not just like super aggro at the gate, where it's like, all right, setting up and stuff, and then you get in. And you're kind of piling on these abilities, and a loot is okay, or rummage, I should say. My gut says this one's probably not very good, but I guess the 1/3 body is pretty good for putting some sort of like enhancements, counters, or equipment on it, right? Like that wears enhancements pretty well. So maybe there's some play there too. I don't know. Maybe this card's a little bit better than it looks. I would bank on this being just like a fine 2-drop.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A little out on this card.
It's also one that early, when you do want to, you were saying you want to send in other creatures to get the abilities, you can send this in early and it's not going to die all that often, right? It's going to bounce off a 2/2 or whatever, and maybe you need to filter a little bit, hit your land drops.
Yeah. So the 2-mana 2/1 from Kaldheim that ETB'd and rummaged if you wanted to.
That card was not very good because the body sucked.
But this body is better?
I think 1/3 is much better for enhancements than 2/1, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure I'll play this. I'm not usually...
Imagine just putting a sling on this thing, right? Simian Sling.
Yeah. Then it's a 2/4.
Or the war paint.
Yeah. I just feel like I want to put... Yeah, I don't know. It's just that rummage is worse than loot. Not by much, but it is worse than loot. And
I think you'll be fine if this is your 2-drop, essentially.
yeah.
You probably don't want to load up in them, right?
I think this is like a D+.
Sure, I'll start at C-.
Yeah.
Alright. Next up, we've got Crackling Emergence. 1 in red for an aura. Enchanted land you control. Enchanted land is a 3/3 red spirit creature with haste. It's still a land. If the enchanted land would be destroyed, instead sacrifice Crackling Emergence and that land gains indestructible until end of turn.
What? Why?
Weird. Yeah, so it's like 3/3. It's like attached.
I guess the thing is modified, right?
Yeah, it's modified. It's a modified. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's I can buy that. So it's a 3/3 that attacks on turn. Or it's a 2-mana 3/3. They can't block, but attacks on turn 3 at the cost of your land, which is a pretty big issue, right? You can't play a 3-drop. I'm pretty out on this, I think.
I guess it's modified, but
aside from the original, this is calling back to Kamigawa, the Genju cycle. And those cards were pretty good, but aside from those cards, I don't remember these enchanting land cards ever being good. I think they often just had the problem of you need to use your mana, not be attacking. Turning into a 3/3 is kind of nice, but I don't know.
I'm out on this.
I'm out on this too, but I could see this having a place. I'm gonna start this at a D.
Yeah, I'm going D- here on this. Next up is Explosive Entry. There's 1 in a red for sorcery. Destroy up to 1 target artifact. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature.
Okay. This brings up the question of, do we want to main deck artifact enchantment removal? I am a believer that you probably shouldn't. This is the whole, it's the whole idea of well, you could find a target, but is that actually the thing you need to kill or want to kill? Or are you in a position where, the thing that's killing you is not an artifact and you kind of have this card that you're casting but isn't actually accomplishing that much? We'll see how the format pans out. Maybe there's just enough artifacts. I would bet that there's more artifacts running around than enchantments. Because there's artifacts in enchantment. Oh, I guess there's enchantment creatures too. So maybe that's not true. I don't know. I don't think this is a card you want to main deck.
Yeah, I'm on sideboard.
Let's go sideboard. Yep.
Yeah. Alex plays anything with a sideboard.
Sometimes. Kami's Flare, 1 in red for an instant. It deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Okay. If the Kami's Flare also deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller if you control a modified creature. That's pretty sick. 2 damage on your 3 damage burst spell to the face.
What's the red?
Searing Blaze?
Yeah, Searing Blaze.
Yeah, that's a punch in the gut.
Yeah, 2 mana, deal 3, good, and then upside of deal 2 to the controller as well.
This is very good. Yeah, it's two sits in a row now where we're getting the shock and a incinerator or whatever. 2 mana, deal 3. So yeah, I'm gonna start this as B as well. I think this card's great.
Yeah, this seems awesome to me. All right, next up, what do we have?
We got Tawashi Song Shaper. 1 in red for a 2/2 human artificer. It's an artifact creature. Whenever another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. A little bit your first year? Is that what the card was?
Sure, yeah, the Magecraft +1/+0.
Yeah,
probably not quite as explosive as that.
Less threat of activation too, right? Where you can't, there's not many flash artifacts. Your opponent's gonna know how much you're taking off of this. But that card was an overperformer for sure. I imagine that's kind of a product of that format for sure. But I think this card's okay. It's an artifact. It'll probably attack for 3 most times. 2 drops attacking for 3. That's nice.
Yeah, this seems like a fine C.
Yep, I'd say so.
All right. Ambitious Assault. 2 in red for an instant. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If you control a modified creature, draw a card.
Sweet. Yeah, that. So the upgrade to the old Trumpet Blast. The old draw a card on. Draw a card on.
That's not really what you want, because Trumpet Blast you want just to be ending the game when you cast it.
I think the idea is they want you to cast it not just when you're about to get in the game, maybe to like push some damage cycle into some more action. I guess is the intent, but yeah, I don't know. The draw card is maybe more of a cycling mode, you know, where it's like, maybe it's not great, but I get in a little bit of damage. Maybe you can make something out of it, win a combat or something, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have modified creatures, I'm still pretty out on this.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good card. I'd give it a D, but yeah, I think it's, you know, something to consider sometimes, and maybe that like hyper aggro red deck I was talking about.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Peerless Samurai, Tuna red for a 2/3 human samurai with menace. Whenever a samurai or warrior attacks alone, the next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less to cast. Okay. Little ramp.
Little ramp.
Little mono red ramp.
What is this? It's like a Kessig Naturalist a little bit.
A little bit, yep. There was a card way back in Dragon's Attack here, did a similar thing.
Yeah, much better on a 2-drop like Naturalist than I think a 3-drop like ramping from 2 to 4, then 3 to 5 or whatever.
The upside is, yeah, for sure. But the upside is that this one gets in more often than Naturalists. Yep. I think it's a solid C. Yeah, it's a good place to, you know,
and being able to... has a keyword here in Menace to
exactly
wear stuff well, wear auras or counters or equipment
Types matter. Double spelling with this is sweet. Like, you don't have to play a 5-drop. You can play a 2 and a 3. That's pretty sweet. Yep, I'm into it. I'd give it a C.
Unstoppable Ogre is Tuna red for a 4/1 artifact creature, and when it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn.
Kind of out on this. It just seems a bit junky. 4/1, you know, doesn't brawl that well.
These are bad stats. Even with types, even with good types. These are bad stats, though. I think this is a D.
Give this a D. Yep. Yeah. Agree.
Okay.
Great. Gift of Wrath with some wild art. Looks like straight from like a manga or something. This is 3 and a red for a aura. Enchant an artifact or a creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +2/+2, has menace, and then when this aura leaves the battlefield, not when the creature dies, but when it just leaves, you get a 2/2 red spirit token creature with menace. Huh.
So sort of mitigating the cost of putting an aura on a creature?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a beating, right? Like, your opponent plays a 4, like, you know that feeling when your opponent plays, they go 3-drop into aura, and you're like licking your lips because you're like, aha, I've got a bounce spell or a removal spell. You don't feel all that good about that. You don't feel good, but you've taken 4 or 5, and then you give them a 2/2 menace, which is a real body, right? So I don't love this card, but I could see this like being a fine card in your deck.
Yeah, Knightly Valor vibes. That seems
Knightly Valor vibes
comparison-ish.
I think I would actually start this as a C. I think this is a good tool to push damage.
Yeah, I'll go C minus, I think. But
yeah,
but maybe with modified, this does get a boost.
Yep.
Next up is Scrapyard Steelbreaker, 3 and a red for a 3/4 artifact creature human warrior. Pay 1, sack another artifact. It gets +2/+1 until end of turn. Interesting threat of activation with your fun little experimental synthesizer sack fodder there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This card reminds me of one of the better red 4-drop aggressive creatures you've seen in the past few years. The what was it called? The Lavakin Brawler. The 2/4 that comes down and then attacks pretty well. This one similar, blocks well, and then it threatens to attack for a heck of a lot of damage. Like, they're gonna have to start trumping this thing pretty often or pretty quickly, just because of how much damage you think this thing's gonna be able to input.
Yeah.
This, the another thing that we're kind of glad that there's no Act of Treason, 3-mana Act of Treason. It does cost 5 in the set. That would be kind of a nightmare.
Right.
But yeah, this pushes a heck of a lot of damage. I think this is a super solid card.
Yeah, I think I like this at a C, and probably maybe even gets a little better in the like most supported shells for it.
Yeah, I think the thing I like, this is one of the great things about seeing the curve of creatures up, for the color, going cheap to expensive stuff, is that we really, I don't know, I've seen all the cards so far go in the same shell, right? We don't have, like, often we don't have this problem with red, that tends to be just aggressive, but even more so, I think we've got like a really nice, just like artifact, aggro, modified kind of stuff going on. Maybe there's not exactly the perfect crossover there, but they all seem to work pretty well together.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what's up next?
Kami of Industry, 4 and a red for a 3/6 spirit. When it enters the battlefield, return target artifact card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. The egg. You just bring your little experimental synthesizer in, and boom.
This is nice with the circuit bug or whatever it was called, the 2/3 that draws your card.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah. This is sweet. 3/6 is a weird stat line in a 5-drop creature. It's more of a
red,
you know, I'm sure there's gonna be some grindy red black decks or grindy red blue decks or something. But this is I like this card. Like it blocks really well and provides value. You know, 5 drops or whatever. But it's got an ETB. You know, I think I'm also gonna give this just a solid C, which is a high grade for 5 drop.
I can see this moving up.
Yeah, I could actually see this moving up to like C+.
I'm in for C for now for the Kami of Industry.
Sweet.
All right, you've alluded to it. What is this?
Yeah, so this is the Shattered States era. This is 5 mana for a saga. Chapter 1, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste. So there's your 5 mana active trees, and that's what we got to work with. Chapter 2, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Third chapter, it flips into a 3/3 trampoline haste. So you know, this kind of subverts your expectations a little bit of the active trees in. You know, mind you, I think like I've been saying, I think it's good this is 5 mana, not cheaper. That the active treason is not too cheap. But usually we do think of active treason as last thing we cast, right? It's just like the game ender. But I think this is more just like a thing to cast. You know, you curve out and then you play this, and maybe it's not the absolute game ender. Sometimes it is, but then you like get to boost your team, which is pretty good after that. It's kind of a similar-ish effect to the chapter 1, I would say, just a way to push damage. And the backside isn't too bad, right? So you've got like 2 pretty good effects that are pushing damage, and then a trample haste creature, which it isn't anything to sneeze at, I would say. So it's a 5-drop, but I actually like this card quite a bit.
Interesting. I'm a little less excited about it, but all 3 of the chapters do push damage, right?
Yeah.
In different ways, but they all do push damage.
Yeah.
And the fact that they push damage and you only had to invest mana in the first time, so then when the second chapter hits and then the third chapter hits as the creature, you can spend mana in other ways to support those game plans.
I'll also note that while it won't come up that often, it will feel pretty good. Like, you're going to be putting sacrifice outlets in your deck anyways. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be like full on steal sack, but there are going to be times where on turn 6 or turn 7 you cast this and you're like, oh yeah, steal your thing, then sack it, right? It's going to come up.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Where does it land for you?
I still would just put it at like a C, but this is one that maybe I'm kind of noting, earmarking as I don't know. I have my eye on. I think it could come up a little bit past that, but I'm gonna start at C for now.
All right. Next, or I should say last in the commons is Ironhoof Boar, 5 in red for a 5/4 boar with trample and haste, and it has channel. Discard it for 1 in a red. Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. A little blood rush action here.
Yeah. This is like, again, all these cards are just pushing so much damage in red, right? Mm-hmm. I think red looks really good. Like, it's got 2 really good removal spells, and all its cards are, pretty reasonably costed, and all pointing towards the same direction.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The modality here is really good.
Yeah, for sure. It's got the we've seen this a lot, right? Actually, like kind of like Lava Act with the buyout clause. Where mind you, the buyout clause is not exactly make a creature or anything. It's still a combat trick, but it's a decent thing you can do in the early game, and then top deck this later. When you're on 5 mana, you're like, all right, we'll just have to draw 1 more land, and then I've got a big old 5/4 trample haste. So yeah, I don't think this is a high pick or anything, but there's definitely formats where we've played what is this, brute strength is the combat trick +3/+1. So essentially look at this as a combat trick, not a creature, with with combat with a creature upside, right? Later in the game.
Yeah, I would say is this a C+?
I would just give it a C.
C?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be the combat trick a lot more often than not. Although the combat trick ain't bad. It, again, pushes a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. All right, Flame Discharge is our first uncommon. It's X in red for an instant. It deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you controlled a modified creature as you cast this spell, it deals X +2 damage instead.
Ooh, okay. Yep. So shock plus. we have access to another 2 mana deal 2, which is sweet. And
well, shock plus if you have a modified creature.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Shock plus as a card. I guess I was saying. But yeah, that's sweet. I'm into it.
Yeah. This seems kind of, I don't know. This feels worse to me, I think, than the 2 mana deal 3.
Yeah, it actually might be worse than just both the common removal spells, right? I could see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's still good though.
C+ probably, like not
right.
insane.
Shock mode. Sorry, yeah. Chat's saying shock mode is worse than normal since you can't do it on turn 1. That is a very good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you want to give this? Like B minus?
C+.
C+. Okay, I'll give it C+. Yeah, I think this is probably just worse than the other 2. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Second uncommon here, we got Rabbit Battery. This is a sweet one. This is a 1 mana 1/1 haste equipment rabbit. The equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste and reconfigure for a single red mana.
Yeah. Okay. 1 mana, 1/1 haste. Great. Little Raging Goblin. And then single red for the equipment to give anything +1/+1 in haste.
I wonder if this is worse or better than the monkey.
My guess is better.
Yeah, interesting. Probably, yeah. It's just like the best short sword they've ever printed, right?
Right, exactly.
Essentially. Yeah. Big time into this. Yeah, again, super hyper aggro. I like it. Plays well together. Or is an artifact a sacrifice if you want it? I don't know. I'm going to give this a B-.
B-, say it. Yeah, I could see it being a B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We got another one. Kind of same vibe a little bit.
Yeah, Reinforced Ronin is single red for a 2/2 artifact creature human samurai with haste. At the beginning of your end step, return it to its owner's hand, or you can pay channel 1 in a red, discard it, draw a card. Huh.
Yeah, so it's going to get in some early beats, and then kind of when it's either you draw it late or it's kind of outstayed its welcome, it's going to, cycle.
You just cash it in for a card? That is cool, yeah. Oh my god. So this could just deal 4 damage on the first couple turns, and then later you just cash it in for a fresh card?
Yeah.
That is good. There is no way for this to be a blocker, though, right?
No,
Yeah.
unless you flash it in. I don't think you can. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this card's great early, pretty good, good early, decent late. All in all, give it a C+ for the next.
Yeah, this does feel worse to me than the other two, two reconfigured creatures.
I think so too. But see what I mean by the redundancy here? Like, there's just so much of it. And obviously some of these are uncommons, but man. Yeah. Next up, more kind of redundancy here. We've got Kamano faces Socazon, single red mana for a Saga. First chapter, this deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control. So it pings them. It's a little bit of chip damage. 2, second chapter, when you cast your next creature spell this turn, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, flips into a 2/2 haste, and if a creature dealt damage this turn by a source you control would die, exile instead.
Whoa.
So 2/2 haste, essentially. With a little bit of upside.
So 1 mana, so comes into play, deals the damage.
Yeah.
Then when you cast your next creature spell this turn, that creature enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah.
So helps modified thing, and then it turns into a 2/2 with haste.
This is just so much for 1 mana.
This is very good. This is like a B.
Yeah, B-, B.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in that neighborhood. I think here's the thing, right? Like, you're gonna want to temper your expectations a little bit, because in just like a medium mid-range deck, all of these cards are not going to be very good. But if you've got that focused, like, close to mono red deck, all these cards together are going to be awesome, right?
Yeah. And in theory, you should be one of the only, if not the only, people at the table who want them.
Yeah, unless the deck ends up being the best deck in the format, and then everybody will want it.
That's
but
true.
yeah, I like this card quite a bit.
All right.
Everything, more stuff pointing towards the same stuff.
Dragon Spark Reactor is 1 in a red for an artifact. When it or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a charge counter on Dragon Spark Reactor, and then pay 4, sacrifice it. It deals damage equal to the number of charge counters on it to target player, and that much damage to up to 1 target creature.
Oh man, that's wild. So it's kind of like a Shrine of Burning Rage in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't obviously need to keep casting things. It doesn't just like accumulate counters like Shrine does, but man, an artifact, this thing's just gonna kill people out of nowhere.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have to build around this, or is just red chock full of artifacts enough?
I think, like...
Because, red, white, red, green are probably not where... feels like red, black, and red, blue are where this is going to be at its best. I
guess I would say there comes a break point where you just don't want it in your deck, right? It's not so much like, oh, I need to build towards it. It's like, I'm not quite enough there, that I probably should cut the card.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But yeah,
I feel like if I see this early, I'm like, yeah, let's try it. Let's do it.
Yeah, that effect's really powerful. Like, if you got 4 counters, 4 to the face, 4 to them, that's sweet.
Yeah. And this is, so it's sort of confusing, or you just want to make sure that you're tracking this through the set. Sometimes it says cast, and sometimes it says ETB. This says ETB.
Yeah, this set's got a lot of the call time issue of some of the similar looking cards do different things. The reconfigure cards are similar to that, where it's like some of them give stats, some of them don't.
Right.
So just be careful. It's gonna be a lot of misclicks.
I
or
like this at
misplays
like
early on.
build around B.
Yeah, I would put it there too. All right, next up we've got Socazon Smelter. 1 in a red for a 2/2 Goblin Artificer. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 1 and sacrifice an artifact, maybe the synthesizer potentially. If you do, create a 3/1 red construct artifact token with haste.
Wow.
Yeah, you're just like living, Ethan, with with all
I
these.
love this red black sack deck.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, maybe the experimental synthesizer. Look. Maybe I'm just gonna have to eat my words. C+ is too low for that card. Yeah, this card's great.
Yeah.
I would give it. I don't know. You don't even have to build around this. Obviously, like the ceiling is higher if you do, but.
So I mean, you want some number of creatures that act, or some number of artifacts you actually want to sacrifice. Is the thing. You're not just going to sacrifice random creatures, right?
Right. But the floor of just 2 mana 2/2 and then the handful of
it's
things
fine.
is fine. Yeah.
I think this is more of a build around than some of the other ones. I mean, in the sense that like to make it more than a 2 mana 2/2, you want to have things that are actively good to sacrifice. But yeah.
But
Like, I'm gonna go C+. But...
Just C+, not build around anything.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, like sure, build around B- then if we're gonna put it that way. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Tempered in Solitude is 1 in a red for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn.
So strange. It's like more and more stuff pointed to the samurai deck being a bit more plotting, right?
Yeah.
A bit more laid back. But is this good?
It's just weird. It's just. I find it very weird to have value engine-y things attached to a mechanic that requires you to attack. It's just weird. It's just weird, and doesn't often make sense to me.
Yeah, there's a bit of cognitive dissonance there, you know. I don't know. I think this card reads to me is not super appealing.
Yeah, that's what
Could be wrong. I'm gonna start this low though. I think I'm gonna start this as a D.
I'm with you on D.
Yeah. All right. I could see coming up on this one though.
Yep.
All right. Next up we got Uprise Renegade, 1 and a red for a 1/3 human samurai, and it gets +2/+0 for each other modified creature you control.
Yeah. Thank you for stressing that other. I don't know. I'm not into this.
So I think this is a hard one to kind of just get a vibe for. Just like I think one of the kind of cloudy areas for me in this set is just how often modified creatures are going to exist, right? How many are you going to have? You're going to have 2 on average, 1, none. Like how hard do you have to work for it? I think once we kind of play, we'll get a better idea for it. But if let's say you have 2 on average, this is a 2 mana 5. that's massive.
But also the other piece of the question you're asking is when are you gonna by when are you going to have
right?
That?
So let's say you have it by turn 5. That means your 2-drop has not outstayed its welcome, which is something I'm definitely looking for from a 2-drop.
That's fair.
I think this card's fine.
Like a C?
Yeah.
All right. I'm in for C on Elvis. Next up we have Bronze Plate Boar. This is 2 in a red for a 3/2 artifact creature equipment Boar with trample. And it has reconfigure for 5 and gives equipped creature +3/+2 and trample. Whew, that's a beating.
It's a big buff.
Yeah.
It's a big buff. Some of the tension on these cards is that like you're not gonna really want to trade them off, right? You're like, oh, but my value a little bit.
I guess. I think you gotta think about this as like on curve. This is a 3 mana 3/2 trample. And then in other games where like the board has stalled, in other versions where you draw it and the board has stalled a little bit, and then this just breaks that board stall wide open.
Yep.
I think this is at least a C+.
C+, yep.
Yeah.
So also an artifact types and such. All right, Go Shintai of Ancient Wars, 2 in a red for a 2/2 first strike, which is probably the best body we've seen on these shrines, right? Which this is a shrine, by the way. So 3 mana for 2/2 first strike in red. At the beginning of your upkeep, your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, the shrine deals X damage to target player or planeswalker, where X is the number of shrines you control. So I think the lowest investment or the lowest downside one, but also probably the lowest upside.
Right, as a 3 mana 2/2 first strike, this feels like the best body we've seen so far for the rate, but also the lowest impact effect that you're paying for.
This is kind of okay though. Like just like it's a I think shrines aside, it's a 3 mana 2/2 first strike that starts pinging the opponent. Like that's not bad. Yeah, get a counter on it. Nice attacker.
I'm kind of bummed about. I mean, I'm gonna do it, but I'm not excited about the shrines. I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. There seems like a lot of sweet stuff in this set. Shrines doesn't really seem like one of them. C minus. I don't know.
Yeah, I give this a C. I think it's fine. Okay. Moving on to Seismic Wave. Tuna red for an instant. It deals. The Tuna red instant. It deals 2 damage to any target and 1 damage to each non-artifact creature target opponent controls. Wow. So this could really deal a lot of damage to no pun intended to opponents.
This is gonna wreck you.
Me in particular, yeah, potentially.
Yeah. Captain 1/1 over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this does seem good. So this deals 3. This at the floor deals 3 damage to a non-artifact creature.
Yes,
I guess can deal 2 to their face. But
goes to the face. Yep, it goes to the face.
And then has the potential to it's an instant, so you can mess around in combat. That stuff seems small. The good stuff is small. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I want to start this at a B minus.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
Yeah, seems sweet. Seems like you have a lot of blowouts, and then the baseline's not too bad either.
Next up is Heiko Yamazaki the General. 3 in a red for a 3/3 human samurai legendary creature with trample. When a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast target artifact card from your graveyard this turn.
Ah, see what they did. The Yamazakis, they one cast an enchantment, one cast an artifact.
Ooh.
All right, so this is pretty similar to the things we said about the white one.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller body, 3/3 trample.
Yeah, but I think trample a better ability word than vigilance for the attacks alone thing.
I would say so too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit more out on this. I think just this being 4 mana,
yeah,
quite a bit.
I think so. It doesn't block super well. If it was
it's a little value. I'm just looking at this card. I think that not blocking very well turn it comes down, and I don't know. I think I would probably give this a C minus or D plus.
I think C minus seems fine to me.
All right, the big one.
Yeah.
This is maybe the best uncommon in the set. We'll see. One of the better ones for sure.
Yeah.
Twin Shot Sniper. 3 in a red for a artifact creature, Goblin Archer. It's a 2/3 with reach, and when it ETBs, you deal 2 damage to any target creature, base, planeswalker. Channel 1 in a red, discard the sniper. It deals 2 damage to any target.
Yeah. So, I mean,
this is the best of both worlds.
I can't ever imagine. I mean, there are scenarios where you're stuck on 2 or whatever. You got to kill a thing immediately, but when am I ever gonna not want to just channel this out?
So many good things about this card. It's got modality and power. It's got secret reach.
Reach, yeah. Number 37, it has reach, yeah.
What else do you want from this card? I think this card's a B plus.
Yeah, this card seems nuts to me. B plus sounds good. Card's great.
All right.
First rare, what do we got? March of Reckless Joy. X in red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of red cards from your hand, then the spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. And you exile the top X cards of your library. You may play up to 2 of those cards until the end of your next turn. If you like Reckless Impulse, if I got a card for you.
This one seems not so great though. Well, no, it's okay. It's it's like Scattered Thoughts minus, right? Is what it kind of turns into. Okay, so okay, let's just go 3 mana, right? It's Divination where you have to cast the cards next turn.
So it's bad.
Yeah, that's not so good.
Alex, you have your fun. You have your egg at common. I don't know why I keep calling it an egg. It looks like an egg. That's it. Yeah.
And we like to sacrifice eggs. I think this is not a very good version of this effect. Yeah, I'm just kind of out on this.
I'm gonna just go F on this, I think.
I mean, you could play it, but yeah,
you're allowed to play it. You can also play as many basic lands as you want.
Yeah, that is true. You can play as many basic lands as you want, Ethan. I'd give it a D, but all right. Up next we got Gorogoro, Disciple of the Ryusei, or of Ryusei. Sorry. 1 in a red for a 2/2. It's Goblin Samurai. Single red mana. Creatures you control gain haste. Okay, not bad. And 5 mana, 3 red, create a 5/5 red Dragon Spear token with flying. Activate only if you control an attacking modified creature. Ooh, it's got some Dragonkin Berserker vibes.
Ooh. Oh man, that's good.
My card is really, really good.
Berserker had first strike, right?
I think Berserker having first strike is a lot better than giving haste to your creatures. Mm-hmm. But still.
But oftentimes by the time Berserker could attack, You were usually just saying, cool, I'll cash this in for a 5/5 for 5 mana.
And the thing is, here's an upside of Berserker. This doesn't have to be the one attacking.
Only if you control an attacking modified creature. Yeah, that's great.
Right,
so
you can attack with something else, keep this out of harm's way. So that's cool.
Yeah, I'm into this.
A-?
That seems high for a 2-mana 2/2 to me, but
Dragon Berserker was a A-, was it not?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess maybe having First Strike is gets in quite a few beats, but maybe B+.
Yeah, I think B+ for me. Lizard Blades is next here. This is 1 and a red for an equipment lizard artifact creature. It's a 1/1 with double strike. Equipped creature has double strike, and you can reconfigure it for 2 mana.
Yeah, not a bad baseline. As a kind of a fencing ace style card, Geist, Twin Blade Geist or whatever. And then, I think one of the things about those cards is if you can't augment them, which I think you're going to be able to augment them pretty well in this set, they do, kind of sit there as 1/1s, so that's maybe not a concern. But being able to put that ability on a larger creature, I'm super into it. And we've seen quite a few instances of trample already and giving trample. I think this just another card that just pushes so much damage. So I think this one's solid B.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of feels close to B+ to me, but I'll go B with you for sure.
Overhead Helm. This is a odd looking one. This is Tuna red for a 2/2. Equipment Ogre. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. Whenever the Helm or the equipped creature attacks, this is a reconfigure card, you may sacrifice it. If you do, discard your hand and draw 3 cards, reconfigure 3. Wow. Weird card. So the it is referring to the, when it's equipped, referring to the equipped creature or the helm?
When Ogre, Head Helm, or equipped creature deals combat damage to the player, you may sacrifice it. That's the equipped creature, right?
Yeah, I assume that.
Yeah. When it, or when this thing or equipped creature deals combat damage to the player, you may sacrifice it.
I think that's always referring to the helm.
I think it's referring to whatever did damage.
Oh, whatever did damage. You're correct. Yep. You're right. You're right.
So you're sacrificing the creature or you're sacrificing
whatever
this.
deals damage. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's pretty darn good because it's giving +2/+2.
Yeah.
And so they're either like chumping it, double blocking it. I mean, threat, and then you just move it to something else for, a hefty cost. 3 mana equip is not nothing. But
it's a what's it called? +2 mace essentially.
This feels like a B to me, B-.
Yeah, I think B-. I think it's a little bit weird. Like dealing combat damage to the player is something. I would just put this like a B-. It's good, but all right. Moving on to Scrap Welder. 3 and a red for a 3/3 Goblin Artificer. Tap, sack an artifact with mana value X. Return target artifact card from your with mana value less than X from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until end of turn.
Whoa. You just swapping artifacts, huh?
Yeah, but you're always going down the chain, right?
Mana value less than X. Yeah, okay. Reverse pod. Graveyard artifacts.
Graveyard.
Yeah.
So it's a 3-mana 3/3, which is, unexciting. You maybe get some value out of it, but I think this card's largely medium. Like you want to pair this with Enter the Battlefield effects. That's mainly what you want.
Now
right?
this is the Oswald Fiddle Bender I can get
Yes,
behind.
exactly. Yeah.
This card, I'm gonna derp around with this card.
I see the wheels turning. Ethan.
Yeah,
I see
for
the
sure.
Wheels turning. I think it's still just like a C- probably.
Yeah, this card is not good.
There's definitely going to be like little synergy combos, and I'm sure you're going to have a segment on Lords Unlimited devoted to this card. You're like, well,
you'll never guess what I did with this last week. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But I'd give it a C-.
All right, yeah, that seems fair. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is next. 2 and a red for a saga. Chapter 1, create a 2/2 red goblin shaman creature token with, whenever this creature attacks, create a treasure token. Chapter 2, you may discard up to 2 cards. If you do, draw that many cards. Chapter 3, exile it. It comes back as Reflection of Kiki Jiki, an enchantment creature, goblin shaman. 2/2, 1 tap. Create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control, except it has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. What could possibly go wrong?
Why would they ever put a limiting factor of 1 mana and tap on this card, Ethan? Why would they do that to us?
Well, certainly you can go infinite, but like as if that's gonna stop this from being broken in some format, I'm sure.
So let's break this down. the first chapter is a Magda. It makes a Magda, a 2/2 Magda, right?
Yep.
Which is sweet. I mean, 2/2 Magda for 3 is definitely worse than a 2/1 Magda for 2, because it's just less likely to get it, but it's still pretty good. 2, you can discard up to 2 cards. Just do some filtering, right? You can draw that many cards. Yeah, sure. Filter your hand a bit. And then the backside, yeah, making a Kiki Jiki, like you've essentially paid 3 mana and some time for this Kiki Jiki. Yeah, that's sweet, right? You can get ETBs, attack with large creatures. This card's really good.
Yeah, this seems pretty. This is all very good for 2 mana. You're getting
It's
two
a lot.
2/2s and some
3
filtering?
mana, right?
For
3 mana.
3 mana. Sorry, you're getting a lot here.
Yep.
This is
I like this.
A solid, definitely a solid B at least.
Ooh, copy the Archer to keep dealing 2 stuff. It's not
yeah.
bad. It's not bad. Yeah, I would give this a B, maybe even B plus.
Yeah, it's good. I could see it being B plus territory.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm gonna start on B plus here.
All right, yeah, me too.
All right, Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, the Red Dragon, 2 red 4/4 flying trample, so efficient. When it dies, you choose 2, or sorry, choose 1 out of the 2. You either exile the top cards of your library, and you can until end of turn, until the end of the next turn. So it's Reckless Impulse. You can play those cards, or you can create 3 treasure tokens. Maybe not as bombastic.
No, it's not as balmy as the other ones, but also it's like hecka cheap. 4 mana, 4/4 flying trample. Like the other ones are. I mean, difference between this and a 5 mana or a 6 mana, but like
real good.
And the
Just getting
dies
good
thing
value.
are also much less, I don't know, severe as some of the other ones we've seen. The die triggers, but
This is
also
sweet.
good.
This is still just an A though, right?
Yeah.
On efficiency and value, and does everything you want.
Yup.
I love reviewing dragons because they're just so quick.
They're easy, yeah. Thundering Ryder is
Crazy.
next. 2 red for 3/3 spirit with haste. Whenever it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then Thundering Raiju deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju.
All right, well, it's attacking you as a 4/4 trample, and then a 5/5 trample, or you can put the counter somewhere else.
It doesn't have trample, does it?
Oh, sorry, not trample, just haste. Yeah, that would
just haste. That's
really great. Yeah, 4/4 haste, and then a 5/5 haste, or you can put the counter somewhere else and spread around the love, spread around the damage. It does have you attack to accrue value, but 4/4 into it and then a 5/5 is not that easy to block.
No. Yeah. This card's also
good,
nuts.
yeah.
And also can just like start doming them. Like if it's also dealing them damage or enabling other attacks.
Yeah, I also imagine in the mid game sometimes you just have like 4 modified creatures, and then it's just like, all right, just 4 to the face. Sorry.
Yeah, I go B plus on this.
Sure, let's go B plus. Yeah, I would go B maybe, but
only a B.
Only
a
a
rare
B,
Ethan grading a card higher than Alex.
Next up, we've got Invoke Calamity. This is 1 red instant. You may cast up to 2 instant and/or sorcery spells with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard. Or hand without paying their costs. If those spells would be put into your graveyard, exile them instead. Exile Invoke Calamity.
Nope.
It's another one, not so worth it. A lot of setup, a lot of mana.
This is just an F, I think.
Yeah, I don't think this is ever going to be really worth it. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Last card here, Explosive Singularity. 8 red. This is a mythic, a sorcery. So 10 mana mythic here. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you can tap any number of end-tap creatures you control. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature.
It has Convoke.
Convoke.
Court of Calls with the Convoke card here.
Perfect. I knew I liked this card for some reason. Explosive Singularity deals 10 damage to any target. That's another reason I like this card. So that's just boom. 10
Holy cow.
That's what you call a finisher.
This is hard to parse for me.
So I think a good way to think about this is Crackle with Power, right? From Strixhaven, where you generally cast that on 8 mana to kill them.
Mana, kills them. Yeah, 8 mana dealt 10.
Yeah, 5 mana dealt. It dealt to 2 things, right? If you do 5 mana, or is that only to 1? That's only to 1, right? But still, 5 mana to the face was pretty good sometimes. I think you can get this to 5 mana or 6 mana pretty easily. Now, what's going to happen is it's going to be a little bit tricky because you need to attack. Like, the turn, this is going to be lethal. Your creatures are likely going to be tapped already because they've attacked. But it just makes it so that, like, any amount of chip damage, like, you don't even have to put this in a super aggressive shell, right? Don't even think about it like that. But, like, anything that's, like, pinging them or has instant, like, chip damage or any recursive damage where you just can get them to 10, then this just becomes game over. Like, it probably even plays a little bit better in, like, a red-black shell where you're, like, grinding a little bit, setting up some engines where you're draining them, maybe with the anvil, and you're just like blocking, creating a bit of a board stall, and then boom, Tenya.
Yeah. So what do you give this?
It's a little bit awkward because it does do close to not that much, close to nothing in the early game, but it's very powerful in the mid game, I would say. That'd probably even touch like a B-.
Yeah, all right, I'll go B-.
Yeah, and red has like so much ship damage.
The reason I'm the part I'm finding this card a bit of a tough sell that's different than Crackle with Power is that the scenario where this costs 8, you have 2 creatures in play, which isn't crazy. Or when this is even cheaper to 7, 6, is when you have a board of creatures. And in that scenario, I'm wondering, like, it has to be a scenario where you've attacked, but now the board is stalled out, but your opponent isn't attacking you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, in a weird way.
There is a bit of a, like, if I already have 4 creatures in play in my red deck and got my opponent to 10 or less life, am I not already in a good spot? And other stuff does this that can also work in situations where this card can't. That's my I feel like I'm just trying to I don't know, temper a lot of like, oh man, I'm win the game immediately card.
What if this is what it is? Samurai. Think about that. You got all your untapped creatures. The one thing sent in, doing a lot of damage. Maybe that's the idea here.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably actually what the intent is.
Or maybe it's just like red gets in a bunch, and then all your little stuff is outclassed, and you need a way to close the game.
Yep.
And this does that. Yeah. All right. B-, and that is red.
We'll come back.
Sure.
Yeah.